Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Got another video for you today. I'm talking about my Ayula Queen Among Bears deck. This deck is particularly special to me because I built it for my wife to get her into Magic. It's a very straightforward, simple deck with one color, and it's a tribal theme, so that way you're only worrying about playing bears, fighting other creatures, drawing cards, all the good stuff that green likes to do. So I'm going to break it down by each card type and show you guys what this deck is all about. Let's start with the commander. It's a 2-mana 2/2. Bear, and whenever a bear enters the battlefield under your control, choose one, put 2+1 counters on target bear, or target bear fights another target creature you don't control. You'll see those two ETBs will be very powerful in controlling the board and doing something that green's not really allowed to do, which is remove creatures. So let's start with the bears. First, we have Universal Automaton, which is a 1-mana 1/1 changeling, which means it's every creature type. This is one of the best bears in the deck because it is the cheapest bear. It's not as flashy because it's a shapeshifter, not actually a bear, but as you'll see, there are not very many good bears or bears in general in Magic, so we have to supplement them with changelings. Next is one of our many vanilla bears, Balduvian bears. It's a 2-mana 2/2 bear with no abilities. As you'll see, these are actually some of the best bears in the deck because they synergize with other bears that we have. So I'll run through these real quick. We have Bear Cub, Runeclaw Bear, Grizzly Bears in nice sexy 7th edition foil, Forest Bear, he surrenders, he's got his hands up there, and Woodland Changeling, which is a 2-mana 2/2 bear with no abilities, even though it's a changeling. Next, we have Werebear, which is a 2-mana 1/1, and it makes mana for us, as well as if we have 7 cards in our graveyard, he gets bigger. This is one of the better bears because it's ramp and it's a bear trigger. Mother Bear, this is one of my wife's favorites because of the art, the little cute little bear cubs in the background. You can pay 5 mana and exile Mother Bear to create 2 bear tokens from your graveyard. It's just 2 bear triggers and a 2-mana 2/2 bear. It's very good. Wilson, Refined Grizzly, 2-mana 2/2, can't be countered. Vigilance, Reach, Trample, Ward 2. He's a bear with 1, 2, 3, 4 keywords and can't be countered. He's a very good target to put all your +1 counters on for Ayula because he has Ward 2. And Trample and Vigilance, so he's able to attack, block, and protect himself from removal. Mask Vandal, another changeling here. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment and opponent controls. This is a 2-mana bear that triggers our commander, as well as we'll have a bear in our graveyard to exile because usually they die in the fight, and then we could exile a problematic artifact or enchantment. Metallic Mimic, another changeling here. When it enters, choose a creature type, it's the chosen type, and each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it. So this is very good at pumping up our bears, as well as it's a 2-mana bear that gives us a Ayula trigger. Ashcoat Bear, you didn't think we ran creature removal in a mono green deck. No one will ever expect this card to come out. They get combat tricked by this all the time. It's a very good bear. Circle of Dreams Druid, this is a 3-mana 2/1 Gaia's Cradle on a creature. It's not a bear, it's an elf. As you'll see, we have some friends to go along with our bears to make the deck function a little bit better, give us some mana production, some card draw, and some finishers. Being able to make 3, 4, 5 mana off of one creature is very, very good. Urswine Monstrosity, it's a 3-mana 3/3 with Trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, mill a card, then choose an opponent at random. It attacks that opponent if able, and it gains +1/+1 and indestructible for each card type among cards in your graveyard. As you'll see, we have fetch lands in the deck, so that's easy to, it makes Delirium easier to turn online. We'll usually have a creature in our graveyard and an instant, so it's usually just milling that last type with the trigger, and he is a huge trampling indestructible threat that has indestructible until end of turn, so we can, after combat, have him fight a really big creature and still survive. He's a very good bear in this deck. Rampaging Yao Guai, X and 3 green for a 2/2 with Vigilance Trample. When it enters, with X +1 custom counters on it, and when it enters, destroy any number of target artifacts or enchantments with total mana value X or less. So this is a bear, so it gets a bear trigger, as well as blowing up some problematic artifacts and enchantments, and being a huge vigilance trampling bear. Drover Grizzly, it's a 3-mana 4/2. When it attacks while it's saddled, creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. That's usually just whatever. This was originally Alpine Grizzly. This is just a slight upgrade on that card. It's a bear. That's all we care about. Owlbear Cub, 3 mana, 3/3. When it attacks a player who controls 8 or more lands, look at the top 8. You may put a creature from among them on the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. As you'll see, we have a couple big hits in this deck. This is only really triggered for me twice since I've played this deck for years now. It's more so just a bear than anything, but you'll play against the green players who cultivate Kodama's Reach, Skyshow Claim. Oh, I have like a trillion mana. I'm playing like Tatiova or whatever. You attack them, and then you put a Crater Hoof into play, and they die. Vivian's Grizzly. It's a 3 mana, 2/3 bear spirit. You can pay 4 mana to look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature or planeswalker, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. If you don't put it in your hand, put it on the bottom. We have no planeswalkers in this deck, so it's just creatures that you'll be getting off the top with it. You really only activate this when you have nothing better to do, because it is a huge mana sink for you to just miss and not hit a creature. So it's more so just a bear trigger than anything. Pale Bears. It's a 3 mana 2/2 with Island Walk. This is another good candidate for Ayula pumps, making a huge Island Walk threat and attacking the person with islands. They can't do anything about it as far as combat's concerned. Realm Walker, it's a 3 mana 2/3 changeling. When it enters, choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast creatures of the chosen type from the top of your library. This gives us some card draw as well as being a bear and some card manipulation. You get to see the top card of our library, so we always know what the next draw is going to be. Helps us figure out our next turns a lot easier. Uvenwald Bear, 3 mana 2/2 with Morbid. When this enters the battlefield, if a creature died this turn, put 2/+1 counters on target creature. There's a cool little trick you can do with this, because Morbid will check if a creature died on ETB. So you also will have an Ayula trigger, so you can fight a creature, then a creature died, then this will get to the 2/+1 counters, or on any creature. But it's a cool way to get like a second Ayula trigger, because the other mode on Ayula is to put 2/+1 counters on a creature, so you get to fight something and put 2 counters. Striped Bears, 4 mana 2/2, when it enters, draw a card. Pretty simple. We're playing, basically this is kind of the bottom of the barrel of bears, but it gives us a card back and it's a bear trigger. Chameleon Colossus, it's a 4 mana 4/4 bear with protection from black. You can pay 2 and 2 green, and it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. I've had this finish off opponents many times. It can get really big, so you can use Ayula triggers and have this fight things. Protection from black means it's hard to remove and hard to block for most players, because the black is a very popular color. Ruxa Patient Professor. When it enters or attacks, return target creature with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. So all those little bears, those 2/2s with no abilities, we can just get those back, reuse them for Ayula triggers to fight and put counters. It also gives a +1/+1 to creatures with no abilities, as well as Thorn Elemental text, so you can assign them as though they weren't blocked when they attack. Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma, 4 mana 4/3. Creature spells you cast with 4 power or greater cost 2 less to cast, and when it attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1, gains trample until end of turn. This is a pretty good finisher bear, and it gives some cost reduction to our bigger things in the deck, and also the trample will be big later on when we're putting a bunch of counters on bears with Ayula. Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Can't be countered and indestructible, attacks these combat if able, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Very good card draw in this deck, and a nice little bear pun. Beast Whisper, another friend for our bears. When you cast a creature spell, draw a card, just more card draw for the deck. Evercoat Urswine, 5 mana 6/5 trample with Hideaway 3, Hideaway 3. If you don't know what Hideaway does, you look at the top 3, exile 1 under the bear, and the rest go on the bottom. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player, if there are cards exiled with it, you may play one of them without paying its mana cost. He has trample. It's pretty easy to get in with him because he's already a 6/5, but we can even make him bigger with the bear triggers. And you can get some pretty sweet stuff off the hideaways. So, pretty cool bear. Ornn Frostfang, 5 mana 2/6. Attacking creatures you control have death touch. Whenever a creature you control with combat damage, draw a card. So it's like a Toski, but it gives your stuff death touch as well. As you'll see, There's many things in here that give trample, so Trample and Death Touch is a very good combination to eliminate your opponents from the game. Defiler of Vigor, 3 and 2 green for a 6/6 trample. As an additional cost to cast a green permanent spell, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost green less to cast if you paid life this way. And whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1 counter on each creature you control. This card gets crazy out of hand, and it also synergizes with another card, Emerald Medallion, in our deck to make our 2-mana bears free. You just pay 2 life, get an Ayula trigger. If we have a couple card draw outlets like Guardian Project or Beast Whisper, we're drawing 2 cards for paying 2 life and getting an Ayula trigger. It gets crazy out of hand. Sirakan Goreclaw is a 6-mana 6/5 trample bear. Other creatures have trample, and whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, put a +1 counter on it, and it gains haste. The haste and +1/+1 are very cool, but I'm more focused on giving everything trample. When we're getting our stuff really big with Ayula +1 counters, it's nice to have a bear to trigger and also give trample. Vigor, 6-mana 6/6 trampling elemental. If damage would be dealt to a creature you control other than Vigor, prevent that damage, put a +1 counter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. When it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into your library. Very cool card with Ayula triggers, so if you were to have Sirakan Goreclaw fight a 4/4, but you have Vigor out, you will instead put 4 +1/+1 counters on Sirakan Goreclaw, and because it has trample, it's starting to beat in for a lot more damage. As you'll see, we have Rogue's Passage in the mana base too, so it's very, very easy with this and Ayula to make your commander very big and just one-shot someone with a Rogue's Passage. Next up, we have Regal Force. 7-mana 5/5 elemental. When it comes into play, draw a card for each green creature you control. Another friend for the bears, but we're making large boards with this deck, and it's very easy to draw 4, 5, 6, 7 cards off of this. And then the big daddy himself, Craterhoof Behemoth, 5 green, 5/5 with haste. When it enters, creatures you control get +X until the turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. It is the best finisher in this deck. There's plenty of ways to get him outside of just drawing him, and it's usually the way that this deck ends the game. Onto our artifacts. Soul Ring, we all know what Soul Ring does. Chrome Mox, very important to have these in your opening hand, these 0-cost ones, because it allows you to play Ayula on turn 1 and then go into a bear on turn 2. Same thing with Mox Diamond, we can discard our land from our hand. Emerald Medallion makes all our green spells cost 1 less, we're playing 1 color, so this is discounting everything in our deck. The One Ring, indestructible. When it enters, gain protection for everything if you cast it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter, and you put a burden counter on it, draw cards equal to the number of burden counters on it. This is one of the best artifacts you can play in any color, protects you for a turn, and allows you to draw a lot of cards. The Great Henge, most of the time this will be just 2 mana, and you can tap it for 2 mana and gain 2 life, and whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under control, put a +1 counter on it and draw a card. This is just another one of our draw engines that also basically is free because cast it for 2 mana and then it makes the 2 mana back. Vanquisher's Banner, we choose Bear. Bears get +1/+1, and whenever you cast a bear, draw a card. Cloudstone Curio, this is pretty sweet with Ayula triggers. Cycling the bears, we could cycle between two cost bears to just get recurring Ayula triggers, and every time we have a Great Henge out, we're drawing more cards. And yeah, the Cloudstone Curio, there's some combos, but I chose not to include those because my wife would not be able to comprehend when to go for those combos or why those combos exist in the deck or how to execute them. There's just a lot of nuance to that, so I just put Cloudstone Curio in here just to cycle the bears over and over again. Onto our instants. Worldly Tutor allows us to search for any creature in our deck, put it on top of our library. Court of Calling allows us to convoke as well to pay for part of its mana cost by tapping creatures. And we search for a creature with converted mana cost X or less, put it into play, then shuffle. There's also an instant too, so it's an instant speed. Just go get whatever creature you need. Do you need card draw? Do you need a bear trigger? Do you need... Usually one of those 2 things is what you'll get, but Archdruid's Charm, triple green. Doesn't matter, we're playing green only, so we'll be able to cast this. This provides us a tutor for a creature or land. It allows us to remove a creature, as well as exile an artifact or enchantment. So it does a little bit of everything. Green's not usually allowed to remove creatures. We can search for one of our powerful lands or powerful creatures, or we can get rid of a problematic artifact or enchantment. What else can you ask for on a card? Force of Vigor. We could play this on an opponent's turn by exiling a green card instead of paying its mana cost and blowing up 2 artifacts or enchantments. Super good removal for free. Beast Within. It's necessary to play in a mono green deck. It's one of our only ways outside of our commander to get rid of creatures. Autumn's Veil. Spells you control can't be countered by blue or black spells this turn, and creatures you control can't be the targets of blue or black spells. So this is a good way to protect our commander from removal or just any other important creature, and it also allows us to not get counterspelled. Veil of Summer is basically the same thing, but it allows us to draw a card if an opponent played a blue or black spell, and it also just says spells can't be countered, so you can't get mana tithed. Heroic Intervention, 1 in a green instant. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This is just good against board wipes. Return of the Wild Speaker, 4 in a green. Choose 1, draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. This is mostly used as a card draw spell. We basically have 0 humans in this deck, so we don't have to worry about that. And it could also be I've used it one time as an anthem to kill our opponents. Turn Timber Symbiosis. This is mostly just a land because it's a land on the back, but we can look at the top 7, put a creature into play. If it has 3 or less CMC, it enters with 3/+1 counters. Balagad Recovery is basically an Eternal Witness that's also a tap land on the back. We play it mostly as a land, but sometimes it gets back an important piece that was blown up. Natural Order, 2 and 2 green. As an additional cost, sacrifice a green creature, search your library for a green creature card, and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. This allows us to just go get a Craterhoof by sacrificing a bear, go get a Regal Force by sacrificing a bear. Green Sun Zenith, X and a green, search your library for a green creature with converted mana cost X or less, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. I used to play Dryad's Arbor in this deck as ramp for this card, but most of the time it's just fine just to go get some card draw, get a bear, whatever you need. Finale of Devastation, search your library or graveyard for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, and put it onto the battlefield, then X is 10 or greater. Creatures you control get +X/+X and gain haste until end of turn. This is a finisher, but it also gets creatures back from graveyards as well. It pretty much is the best tutor in this deck because of its flexibility and the ability for it to end the game. Creeping Renaissance, 3 and 2 green. Choose a permanent type, return all cards of the chosen type from your graveyard to your hand, and it has flashback. We will almost 99% of the time always choose creature for this. We get all the bears that have died back to our hand. This is usually a good way to recover from a board wipe, and it has flashback as well, so it's pretty good. Shamanic Revelation, 3 and 2 green. Draw a card for each creature you control, and then gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. This is just mostly for the card draw, but with Ayula pumping our stuff up, it's not out of the realm of possibility to gain 12 life off of this. Grisly Fate, 3 and 2 green. Sorcery, create 2 bear tokens. Then, if we have 7 or more cards in our graveyard, we make 4 instead, and it has flashback. This is 2 Ayula triggers, most likely 4. Like I said, we're playing the fetch lands for Threshold and Delirium. Pretty cool to have a bear pun on a card that also makes cool bear tokens. Titania's Command, 4 and 2 green. Sorcery, exile target player's graveyard, gain 1 life for each card exiled. Search your library for up to 2 lands and put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Create 2 bear tokens or put 2/+1 counters on each creature you control. We get to choose 2 of those modes. All of those modes are really good. We almost never choose the exile graveyard unless we're playing against a graveyard deck. Searching for any 2 lands and putting them on the battlefield tapped. We have very good utility lands, as we'll get into later. But most of the time we're making 2 bears and putting 2/+1 counters on each creature you control. It is such a blowout whenever I play this card. It makes my board super huge and gives me 2 Ayula triggers. It's backbreaking for our opponents. On to our enchantments. Wild Growth. You enchant a land within and it makes an additional green whenever you tap it. Just some extra ramp for Ayula. Same thing with Utopia Sprawl. We enchant a 4 is named green. It makes an additional green. Sylvan Library. Some very needed card draw in these colors. It allows us to draw 2 additional cards at the beginning of our upkeep. Then we can choose any number of them to go back on top of our library, any number that we keep. We take 4 damage for each of them. There's some cool synergy with fetch lands in this card, as well as Words of Wilding, which I'll get into later on in the enchantments here. Tribute to the World Tree, triple green. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card if its power is 3 or greater. Otherwise, put 2/+1 counters on it. This usually just performs mostly as a card draw enchantment, but most of the time the 2 mana bears will enter with 2 counters. We could also stack it because they're both ETB triggers. If we have Ayula out, we can put 2 +1 counters on a 2/2 bear, then draw a card with this if we need to draw the card instead. Guardian Project, 3 and a green. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, redraw a card. Ayula's Influence, 3 green. Discard a land from your hand to make a 2/2 bear token. There are times where when we have a bunch of card draw engines online, 2 to 3 of them usually, we'll get a ton of lands piled up in our hand. This is a good way just to unload them and use them instead of discarding to hand size. We're actually using them to make bear tokens for Ayula triggers. Here's Words of Wilding now. It's 2 and a green for an enchantment. And you can pay 1 the next time you draw a card. Skip that draw and make a 2/2 bear token instead. This is pretty cool just with Sylvan Library. There are times where we have card draw engines and say that we have a Nykthos or a Gaia's Cradle or 3-Tree City or a Circle of Dreams Druid. We just have a lot of mana production. We can channel that into this to make a bunch of bears instead of drawing a bunch of cards off our card draw engines. Bearscape, 1 double green. You can pay 1 and a green to remove 2 cards from your graveyard to make a 2/2 bear token. This card is not very good, but I love the art. It's one of my favorites in all of Magic because you could just see all the bears. It's one of my favorites. My wife likes the art too, so that's also why it's in the deck. Flavor win here, we got Bear Umbra. It's an aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and whenever the creature attacks, untap all lands you control, and it has totem armor. Just moving that up. This is a sweet protection spell for Ayula that also untaps your lands, and like I said, it's a Bear Umbra. Why aren't we playing it? Onto our lands here. 3-Tree City. Enters, choose a creature type, makes a colorless mana. Pay 2, choose a color, then add an amount of mana equal to the chosen creature type. So we choose bear. Gaia's Cradle makes a green for each bear we control. This is the only proxy in the deck. Unfortunately, I don't have a Gaia's Cradle, but it's a very good card. Ancient Tomb makes 2 mana, but deals 2 damage to you whenever you tap it. Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, and it enters tapped unless we control a legendary green creature, which is going to be our commander. Makes green mana, and at sorcery speed, we can pay 4 mana to create a 2/2 bear token and mill 3 cards. That part is why we're playing the card. It's not very great, but if we have nothing better to do, it allows us to make a bear token and create an Ayula trigger. Beseiju Who Endures. This is a channel land to destroy non-basic lands, artifacts, or enchantments. If we don't need it as a land drop, it's extra utility in this deck. Nykthos allows us to make a green mana for each pip that we have out. This is one of the better lands in the deck for sure. Castle Garenbrig enters untapped unless we don't have a forest, which we're always going to have a forest. Makes green mana, and we could pay 4 to make 6 green mana, but we can only spend it on creature spells. Shifting Woodland enters tapped unless we have a forest, and if we have Delirium, we can pay 2 and 2 green to turn it into target permanent in your graveyard until end of turn. As you've seen, I mean, we have a land that mills 3, we have fetch lands, we have the bear that mills a card. We have ways of turning on Delirium pretty easily. This is just a better forest that sometimes does stuff for us. Rogue's Passage, as I mentioned earlier, this is a good way to finish off someone with commander damage. If they're at a fairly low life total, we can finish them off with this land as well, but it's just extra utility in the land base. Arcane Lighthouse, this is probably one that you don't see very often. You can pay 1 and tap it until end of turn. Creatures your opponent's control lose Hexproof and Shroud and can't have Hexproof or Shroud. There are some very nasty equipment that people like to play, like Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, or some protection spells that don't allow us to fight their commander. We want to kill everything, so no Hexproof or Shroud will save you on this day. We will remove it and fight your creature anyways. Cavern of Souls, naming Bear, allows our bears to not be countered. This is mostly just for our commander because our commander is usually a pretty juicy target for counterspells. Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, it turns each land we have into a forest. So it allows all our colorless lands to tap for green, as well as fetch lands. If someone has an op agent out, it allows our fetch lands to still make mana for us. Prismatic Vista, sacrifice it, go get a basic land. Verdant Catacombs, go sacrifice it, go get a forest. Misty Rainforest, go get a forest. Windswept Heath, go get a forest. Wood of Foothills, go get a forest. And we play, I believe we have 11 forests in the deck right now. One of these should be a Mox Amber, just to let you know. I just don't have one right now to put in the deck, but that's the deck. So if you guys enjoyed, Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your day.